Tonight on Q2, a drug deal ends in murder. I'll have more details on what led to Sunday morning's homicide. Plus, turning manure into gold.
Really bringing in an added market to Montana producers. And so the cattle industry can access this right here in Shepherd, Montana.
A first-of-its-kind project in the works for the Yellowstone feedlot as they aim to help ranchers and cattle. And a weekly ride-along.
Sitting in front of it for a half hour, 45 minutes, you get to see a lot more than I would have ever seen if I was just looking at it.
One woman helping people put pen to paper at the Yellowstone Art Museum. The MTN 530 News starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Andrea Lutz. First, a drug deal gone wrong, ending with the murder of a Billings man and a crime scene stretching all the way from the west end to the north side. And new details revealed today in court on how 27-year-old Dennis Rowland died. Tonight, our Haley Monaco has the latest on the case.
It all began in this area at a residence on Country Manor Boulevard early Sunday morning. An argument between two parties quickly escalated and a 27-year-old man was shot and killed about a mile away.
A drug deal gone wrong. That's exactly how the early morning homicide began, according to new details released.
State of Montana versus Lauren Cody Smoker.
24-year-old Lauren Smoker appeared in Yellowstone County District Court Tuesday morning after being arrested for the shooting that led to the death of 27-year-old Dennis Rowland.
Mr. Smoker, you've been charged through information with count 1, deliberate homicide with a weapons enhancement, a felony. You've been charged with count 2, tampering with or fabricating physical evidence, a felony.
Court documents say Smoker contacted Rowland and another individual identified by the initials J.E. to obtain drugs. After a discussion escalated to an argument, J.E., Rowland, and another person allegedly drove to Smoker's apartment along Country Manor Boulevard. And that's when a fight between J.E. and Smoker broke out, prompting Smoker's girlfriend to call police. But the men took off before police could arrive.
Whole altercation allegedly began over a drug deal where the defendant then chases after the victim and shoots up his vehicles with others inside.
According to police, Smoker shot Rowland in the head as he was driving down Shiloh with 2 other passengers in the vehicle. Smoker's girlfriend was in the car with him when he opened fire. According to court documents, they thought J.E. was holding a gun, prompting the decision to grab his gun and blindly start shooting.
The allegations are obviously very serious and very concerning. The allegations also suggest that Mr. Smoker has a potentially credible self-defense in this matter.
Smoker fled the scene, but officers later found him at a residence on Sunnyside Lane on the north side. His bond was set at $300,000. In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
The owner of a popular Cody restaurant is arrested after a confrontation with customers escalated even into a Cody police officer getting injured. According to the Cody Enterprise, it happened at Cassie's Steakhouse after customers said they didn't like the service. Police say the verbal altercation with owners Courtney and Randall Hooper turned into threats later at a local motel where those customers were staying. Hooper resisted arrest and kicked the Cody officer in the head. He faces charges of assaulting an officer. Laurel Public Schools will let go of 14 positions in an effort to save $600,000. The cuts come after 2 failed levies, even though the superintendent says this all began even before the election. But as our Charlie Kleps reports, Laurel is far from the only school when it comes to dealing with budget shortfalls.
Those cut positions came from all ages, anywhere from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, including some here at Laurel High School. And it's just the most recent example of the growing concerning trend in Montana education.
They're teaching our children to go into the real world.
It's one of the most underappreciated professions one can have.
They are saints for doing what they do.
Teaching and having the ability to inspire the future. But there's one big reason many districts around the country are struggling to find them.
Teachers don't get paid near enough what they should.
In Montana, that's especially true. Our state ranks 44th for average salaries and 51st in starting teacher pay.
I'm very concerned about it. I think teachers deserve a lot more than what they get.
And it isn't just the teachers struggling for dough. The schools are hurting as well.
We really owe it to to the community to run as fiscally responsible as we possibly can.
Laurel Superintendent Matt Torek says the district has been hit hard by budget shortfalls, forced to cut 14 positions after voters shot down 2 levies last month.
We needed to cut costs, and we wanted to do it as early as we could. We want to give teachers an opportunity to find other employment.
But in other districts, the impact has been even greater. In Helena, for example, more than 40 teaching positions were cut. Most school levies statewide failed this spring, with voters expressing concerns about tax fatigue due to rising property taxes.
It's really concerning that teachers aren't want to continue to keep teaching because they're going to have such volume in their classrooms.
Laurel parents like Allie Holmberg worry about the future impact of fewer teachers and even larger class sizes.
I liked that there was just a little less volume of kids, and so I'm excited, and I really hope that things take a turn and they can figure things out.
An uncertain future, and one Montana school districts are trying to manage.
Montana right now has to look at something from an aspect of funding, because we have to be able to compete.
In Laurel, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
A BNSF train derailed east of Clermont, Wyoming yesterday night. That train was carrying grain, and officials believe there's no safety threats. The Clermont Fire District said on their Facebook page most damage was limited to railroad property, and those landowners around that were notified. There were no injuries reported.
We thought we'd take a little tour around the state, and hopefully we don't lose your luggage along the way. Missoula, sunshine, and right now as you take a look down, 86 degrees, north wind at just 7 miles per hour, but the humidity low at only 20%. Let's move things over towards Helena, where right now is sitting at 84 degrees. The winds are a little bit stronger, but notice that northerly wind helping to hold the temperatures back. In Bozeman, 87 degrees and just a little bit of an east breeze into the mix. And then we're going to quickly move over to Great Falls, where the gusts are starting to pick up a little bit here this afternoon. But notice the clear sky, the sunshine, the warm temperatures here in Billings. 89 degrees right now and just a little bit of a breeze out there. We're going to look at the forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Well, rain or shine, there's no escaping it. The town of Shepherd stinks. It's expected with the Yellowstone feedlot located smack dab in the middle of the community. Our David J. tells us about a first-of-its-kind plan to improve the odor of the feedlot.
Here at Yellowstone Cattle Feeders, the livestock are outside. The plan is to build a barn so they'll be indoors. That'll make everything more efficient for the cattle, as well as collecting methane and dealing with fertilizer. And it will be the first-of-its-kind facility for cattle in the United States. Visit a feedlot and you expect to smell manure, but here in Shepherd, one man's waste is another man's treasure.
Animal waste, the manure waste, is really our sweet spot. We like to say that we're turning that manure into gold.
You heard that right. Yellowstone Cattle Feeders is capitalizing on manure, teaming up with Bion Environmental Technologies to better collect animal waste and turn it into a better fertilizer.
Really a new age technology way of feeding cattle, and more into a barn style to where we can collect that manure through slots, and that will go down into a digester, and then the Bion technologies will actually take that digesta and make it into more value-added fertilizers, just like an organic fertilizer.
Turk Stovall, who owns and operates the facility, says the plans begin with construction of a massive indoor facility able to hold up to 15,000 head of cattle. That facility will allow manure to be collected indoors, harvested, and then turned into fertilizer, with methane also used for natural gas and even cleaner water.
We're cleaning the manure out of our pens, and we take that and we stockpile that, and then we work with farmers here in the valley, and that is provided as a fertilizer.
We have to produce the methane in the anaerobic digester, and then where our proprietary technology comes in is attacking that ammonia that comes out of that digester. The ammonia is the real value driver here.
Bion has already used the process for the hog, poultry, and dairy industries.
The animals are healthier, they're happier, they produce better.
The barns will help contain the ammonia rather than having it evaporate outdoors.
It is a business opportunity, but it is making further steps towards us being better stewards of the land.
A win-win not only for this operation, but for the environment and a more eco-friendly way of raising beef.
We believe that we can be a big asset, not only to Montana, but to the entire beef industry.
In Shepherd, David J., MTN News.
Every Tuesday afternoon from 3:30 to 4:30, you'll find a group of people gathered around a piece of art at the Yellowstone Art Museum. But they do so in silence and with a purpose. MTN's Diane Parker explains what the gathering is all about.
Positively Montana is sponsored by Yellowstone Valley Electric Cooperative.
The Yellowstone Art Museum is celebrating 60 years, and for the first time in its very extensive history, the museum has a writer-in-residence. Her name is Ann Hollub, and she's helping people put pen to paper and put down the screen.
I have some writing prompts if you do not know how to get started.
This is Ann's weekly ride-along at the Art Museum, a chance for anyone to sit in front of a piece of art for an entire hour. It has regulars like John Kennedy coming back.
It's a little more abstract, but sitting in front of it for a half hour, 45 minutes, you get to see a lot more than I would have ever seen if I was just looking at it, and I came to really appreciate it.
Kennedy is a sketch artist, founder of the Billings Urban Sketchers Group, but this week his art form is writing in detail about sheep.
All I wrote was, it must be how he saw it, landscape and livestock flowing with his brushstrokes like a river. The deepest scars must have been dug with bare hands, the artist's fingers, which seems fitting.
For Kennedy, writing is an extension of art, another way to express himself.
I think that's one of the beauties of this. It really forces you to focus on the art.
For the museum, it's a way to bridge gaps and engage the community.
She's a literary artist where we typically have visual artists. It's been really great having her here to kind of expand on art in all of its forms and to bridge the gap between a lot of what you see here in the museum building with a lot of the creativity that we can put pen to paper.
Anne says it's an hour of downtime most people need, and it's a positive push to explore more art.
A lot of people kind of roam through art museums at a really quick pace, and you might take a photo or you might grab a postcard at the end, but have you ever really sat in front of a piece of art for an hour and really spent time with it?
In Billings, Diane Parker, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN 530 News on Q2, a young Butte girl becomes one of the first in Montana to receive a new treatment for diabetes. And it's already changing her life. We'll have her story coming up next. And later, chasing gold, a former senior Bronc is now running toward the Summer Olympics. We'll catch up with Christina Aragon in just a bit.